Throughout history, undeniably, one of the biggest bullish events for Bitcoin has been our Bitcoin halvings, right? And we are very, very well aware of what these mean. This is basically when every roughly 4 years, the Bitcoin rewards that you get for mining transactions cuts from where it is down to half, and that actually reduces the supply in the market. And we always see big moves to the upside. Here are the past 3 halvings, and if I'm not mistaken, these are the only 3 halvings that have ever happened with Bitcoin. And we can see that back in 2012, one of the key things that we've seen every single time is you rally into the halving and you rally after the halving even more. The next time around, 2016, we rally into the halving and we rally after the halving way more. 2020, here was the most recent one that we had. We rallied into the halving and then we most definitely rallied afterward way more. And if we actually take a look at this from the date of the halving to the high that Bitcoin set, Bitcoin managed to rise up by 650%. And if we're looking at something like that again now, that could put us at ridiculous price targets like $300,000. And this all begs the question, what are we actually doing next with this Bitcoin halving? And most importantly, are we due for a big pullback before that actually happens? Because those of you that have been watching this channel for a long time, you're actually going to know, and we've discussed this on this YouTube channel before, that Bitcoin has a clear tendency of crashing right before the halving actually happens. And if we take a look at this yellow line here that shows roughly where we are expecting that next halving to be, which is April of 2024, we are potentially due for that pullback right this very moment. And that is one of the big things I want to discuss with you in this YouTube video, because you guys know that I am an actual trader in this market. Trading is what I do first and foremost. You guys have seen my results beautifully right in front of yourselves. You've seen how my VIPs have been performing. You've seen how I've been performing in this market. Absolutely phenomenal. 1000% profit on my Bitcoin position, a 35 roughly went up to 60% profit on my Link position that closed a little bit ago, and I'm still sitting in over 300% on Tron. I am a trader first and foremost in this space, and the number one thing I want to do is make money off these price moves. I already know, or I already expect that Bitcoin might move up quite a lot later on, but I want to make money off it as much as possible as I can in that time as well. So those of you that are interested, before I continue on in this video, I am obviously ripping my trades right here with the links down below in the description. Check them out because you are getting over $196,000 in bonuses when you sign up to these platforms that I'm using and start using them. Bybit, when you start using it using my link down below, is going to give you up to 30K in free trading capital. You can deploy that right back into the market, and any profits you generate with that free cash are yours to keep. CoinW and BingX are both no KYC options for crypto trading as well. No pictures of yourself, no pictures of your passport, and they're going to give you massive bonuses too. CoinW doesn't even require you to make a deposit. Just open up a futures account using my link. Just sign up, open up a futures account using my link. You're going to get $50 for free to trade it. Do whatever the fuck you like. Any profits you make, then you can go ahead and withdraw it. That is your business. BingX also, no KYC, over 100K in bonuses, access to traditional finance markets. Huge offer. We'll come back to them later. Let's talk about the possibility to make some real cash in this market later, roughly around now. So now the first thing I want to discuss with you guys is what has happened previously with our halvings, because this is really important context to, kind of frame ourselves for what might be coming next. Now, back in 2012, we saw a really nice rally coming into that halving, right? This was November of 2012. And we saw a massive pullback here. If we actually, and by the way, we're on the weekly time frame right now. If we go ahead and look at how big that pullback was from the top of this candle to the very bottom of this candle, this was all within 1 week. Bitcoin halved. This is a minus 49, minus 50% drop from the upside. It is absolutely enormous. Look at that, minus 50% right there to the downside just within 1 week. And then after that, we had another slightly smaller correction of 28% down as well, both meaning that there were some really big pullbacks going into that halving. And obviously, this was after a really, really big rally had already taken place. Now, obviously, the rest after that was history. Bitcoin pulled off like a 10, 12, 13, 14x move. Really doesn't matter. It's quite astronomical no matter which way you look at it. And then the next time in 2016, we're looking at a very similar situation here. We rally up into the halving. And right before the halving, literally just 2 weeks before the halving actually even happens, Bitcoin sees a really nice big pullback. From this high, if we measure it down to this wick, is a big 30% pullback. And that happens within the space of just 2 weeks of price action. So we're talking about a quick drop. You know, when I start talking to you about what this might look like for 2023, for 2024, I want you guys to keep in mind this piece of context, which is really important, which is that these drops that we've seen off similar bits of price action, we're basically in the same setup right now. You'll see why in just a minute. Smash up the likes if you're excited. These setups happen quickly. These opportunities come and go like this, you know, and that is really, really important to be keeping in mind. You know, by the way, one of the best ways for this to happen is if we get that ETF rejection. You guys know that I made a massive video warning you guys about the ETF lies in the space. Fucking everybody and their grandmother is acting like these big guys off fucking Wall Street. This old money, institutional money is going to come in and make you rich. It just ain't happening. It never does. You know, I mean, it's just not how the world works. And, you know, one of the big things that could actually upset this dynamic, that could really, you know, get people scratching their heads and honestly make people potentially capitulate and make people very scared, is if this ETF gets rejected. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Obviously, it looks quite likely that it is going to get accepted. And in my experience, typically when things look this obvious before they happen, especially when there's slow legal things like this ETF application, it does typically go the way people are predicting it. I mean, it's not particularly often that everybody is expecting it to go one way, you know, with a particular legal outcome, and then the opposite happens. That's not normal. So, you know, it's worth taking this with a grain of salt. But I'll tell you what, guys, you know, when you find yourself in a position where absolutely everybody and their grandmother has bought an asset for one specific reason, and then that one reason does not play out, you've got no more reason to be holding that coin. You know, I mean, for a lot of people, that one specific reason is because the coin is making money, because that coin is pumping up, because it's making people money. As soon as you remove that reason, as soon as that uptrend stops, as soon as that reversal comes in and you get that blow off top and that coin is no longer making people money, well, that one key reason that everybody was in the market, that is now gone. And you no longer have an incentive to buy, and you have a lot of incentives to get rid of that position that you don't want to be holding. And that incentive is actually going to be dialed up, or I should say, yeah, dialed up a lot more if other people start selling before you, because now the price is starting to drop. So not only have you lost your key reason to be in the market, but now the market is dropping. I mean, you've got no reason to stay in. This is the typical like XRP conundrum that XRP fanboys find themselves in, is they only buy the coin because they think it's super cheap and it can make them money. But as soon as that starts to go, now no longer is it making you money, and it's actually looking like your loss might get even bigger. You know, you are going to be quite happy to sell, or you're going to be very unhappy to sell that coin. But that is typically how it goes. So really, really important stuff. If that ETF gets rejected, you know, I mean, that is the, you know, like, show me the charts and I'll tell you the news. That is, you know, that is the missing piece of the puzzle. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be that. It would be great if it's not that. I would love to see it get accepted. But I think it's worth keeping in mind that, you know, things don't have to go the way you want them to every single time. Let's take a look at the next one. This one was obviously very, very clear. We did see a rally coming into the 2020, 2019, you know, well, this was the 2020 halving, but the 2019 year of trading was really the uptrend. This was somewhat of an exception. You know, I mean, it wasn't as clean. It was still certainly there. I mean, we went from a low of 3K into the halving at 9K. So, I mean, you know, if you really wanted to draw some sort of line of best fit, it is there. I mean, we definitely had something, you know, in the ways of an uptrend. We certainly did set a higher low. And if anything, ladies and gents, this is just very crypto. I mean, you know, I mean, it's a weird roundabout way to get to the 9K price level. We go from 3K up to 14, down back to 3, and then up to 9. It's just very crypto. I mean, you know, if this kind of thing, if what I'm saying now sounds unreasonable to you, then you're probably not particularly well adjusted to crypto and the volatility in crypto. Okay, crypto sometimes just doesn't make sense, and that is just a fact of the market. So please do keep that in mind, otherwise you're going to find yourself getting very, very confused and very disappointed. But of course, what we saw here was that COVID March 2020 crash, where the price went within just a couple of weeks, 3-4 weeks here, you know, down by 62%. And obviously, if we just measure that one candle, this is a 50% candle within just a week. So you know, very, very typical price action, right? Right before that halving, we get that big drop, and obviously this is coming off the back of an absolutely astronomical rise up, you know, from 3K to 14. And Obviously, we're looking at similar situations right now. If we measure this from our low to our high, this puts us at 190% to the upside, which is perfectly in line with what we expect. It's, still super big. It's not as big as what we saw the last time, which means that number one, we're still forming that same characteristic. And number two, this is in line with the broader theory of these markets slowing down and becoming more mature. So you and I can start to understand here that these numbers are actually starting to make a lot of sense. 190% to the upside. By the way, let's not get carried away. That is still a 2.9. Oh, I'm so bad at this. 2.9 times gain. 2.9. 10K becomes 29K. That is the gain that you're seeing here on this chart. So absolutely huge gain. Let's not lose perspective of that. And now what I really like about this chart, if I go ahead and start showing you a couple rectangles that I've drawn here before, is that we have got some really important levels starting to line up with these info lines that I've drawn here. Take a look at this. Let me just stretch this out a little bit so that we know what we're talking about. We've got this very interesting kind of 48 to 52K box that I've been talking to you guys about before. This is a macro area of resistance. We do not have to hit it. It doesn't really matter for the theories I'm going to be discussing with you today. In fact, I could even just drag this all the way down and just put it right here. It wouldn't really matter. What we are seeing, which is really interesting, is that more or less from the top that Bitcoin managed to set very recently, if we manage to fall down by about 30%, that is going to put us down to $30,750 on this chart. Obviously, the chart is not a completely accurate representation of real life. It doesn't matter. Plus, minus even $1,000 doesn't matter at these price levels because we're looking at general ranges, not exact price levels. And what we have here is unequivocally a perfect setup for Bitcoin to start dropping back down to major areas of support. Our 30% retracement puts us down here. Our 40% retracement puts us at about $26,500. And one of the things that we've actually been talking about a little bit, I've shared this with you guys on my Twitter and in Four Flies Gold. Take a look at this, guys. Let me load up my Twitter account and show this to you because this is huge. Right here, imagine the blood. This was the caption that I wrote for this tweet, showing you what this drop might look like here, where we could be seeing, for example, that rise up to 50K, doesn't matter, doesn't need to happen. We get that initial drop down where we bounce off that 30K range. And this is why I love this so much. I think it's actually, and by the way, this could go 10 million different ways, right? We're just doing a thought experiment to help imagine what it might look like if this potential scenario plays out in real life. And one of the best ways to actually kind of ground ourselves and make sure that, we're being realistic about what we're looking at, is by understanding that the real world, a lot of people don't get this, understanding that the real world markets just don't move as cleanly as you would want them to. In the real world, markets are a lot more frustrating than in your perfect technical analysis textbook that teaches you how to trade, or from the dumb cunt YouTuber that you probably watched when you first got into the space that was showing you how the RSI is the most perfect godsend of an indicator, but when you implement it in real life, it just doesn't work the same way. Well, it's because, first of all, that YouTuber doesn't use the damn indicator himself, so he doesn't know what he's doing. But second of all, you can pick out the perfect isolated instance where a certain indicator, a certain tool, or a certain strategy works out really well, but when you apply it into real life, it's never going to work that well. And you only get that second part, by the way, if you're actually a legitimate trader. That's why most people can't bring that to the table. And of course, like I said earlier in this video, it's why I tend to find myself on the platform that all of the professionals, the real professionals in the space, do use. Guys, you've got to check out Bybit if you haven't done so already, because they are definitely the best place to be for traders in this market. They have been for many years, and they are continuing to cement their place now that Binance has been seeing some really shaky situations. A lot of people have withdrawn their money off Binance, rightfully so. Even with Bybit, even though I love these guys and I've been working with these guys for years, I still wouldn't even tell any of you guys to keep too much money on this platform. I don't do it myself. There's no reason to expose yourself to more risk. But the bottom line is that when you've got a player that is this stable and this good at what they do, and they're giving you a shitload of money to try it out, all you've got to do is start trading using my link, and you're going to get free money in your account to trade with on top of that. By the way, this could take a couple of days. If you guys ever have an issue with any exchange I ever use, just use this direct contact link and tell me what happened and I will sort it out for you. I have very good contacts to all of the exchanges I've ever worked with. So if you ever have a problem, please do let me know. But yeah, guys, definitely do check it out. Obviously those of you that have been around in the space who are, really about your shit, you're probably already here. And of course, great alternatives are linked down below as well if you don't like Bybit. And these guys do also offer no KYC alternatives. Please bear in mind, if you're in a country that has restricted access to these exchanges, then you can't use them. They will not allow you to. So definitely do keep that in mind. But if we go ahead and take a look at this chart here and talk about where this might be putting us now, after especially looking at this chart, one of the things actually before we move back to the real chart that I want to talk to you guys about is that we get this nice big bounce up from roughly that 30K level. And this is where, when the price is back up here, everybody's like, yeah, we're so back, everything is back on, we're back into a bull market, whatever. And then we get that second drop down. This is where you really get sick. I think a lot of people, quite a lot of people are going to be uncomfortable with this, but a lot of people are also going to be okay with it, especially when we get that bounce up, and especially considering that it would only take a matter of a few days. But that second drop down, this is where a lot of people are going to lose faith, because not only are we going to drop down a second time, which might indicate that there's a lot more downside to come, but we're also going to plunge below that area of support back into this range. And it's going to be the same situation we had down here when Bitcoin was at about $27,000. Everybody started absolutely losing their fucking mind. But those of you that were here on this YouTube channel, you're going to remember this very well. And it wasn't that long ago. You're going to remember back when Bitcoin was literally over here. We're talking about October of this year, only 2 months ago, like literally 2 months ago. I was saying, guys, stop fucking panicking. Bitcoin is only setting a higher low in this market. So this is nothing to be concerned about at all. And the thing about this chart that makes it so plausible, in my opinion, is that this is actually going to still set a higher low. And obviously, we haven't set any real areas of resistance on the way up. We're on the weekly time frame, granted, so it's very zoomed out price action. But if we look at this on the daily time frame, it's just very clear there hasn't been a single retracement this whole way up, and it's actually one of the key reasons that I'm really liking this theory right now. Since we had this pullback, which by the way culminated at the beginning of September, right? This is early September that this pullback was finished. This pullback was finished in early September. It began in the middle of July. A long fucking time ago, 5 months ago was when this pullback began. And, we still haven't seen a pullback begin since then. We've seen smaller things where, from high to low, we're down by, 7%, 8%. That's basically the biggest pullback we've seen. Maybe this one that we've just seen over here, down by 10%. It's chump. It's chump change. It's nothing compared to, the kind of pullbacks that we've seen pre-halvings before. And you're fucking lying. You are delusional, my friend. You are delusional if you don't think that Bitcoin is in the same setup right now to pull something like that off again. We have got very limited time to pull that off right now from our current candle to the date of the halving. Of course, this is not confirmed. We don't know when the actual halving will be, but we've got a pretty good idea. 126 days away, roughly. Call it 121, about 4 months away, guys. Very, very short period of time for that to happen. But guys, remember how quickly these dumps actually happen, right? We've already looked at this. This dump over here, from the high to the low, completed within 5 weeks. This is slightly wrong the way it's showing this to you. It was a 5-week dump, okay? So that's just over a month. We've got 4 months left to pull this off, by the way. This dump over here started and finished within 2 weeks. The bad part of the dump. Obviously, the dump continued afterward, but this is where we saw the really, really big rally. And back here in 2012, these dumps were also super quick, so we don't need a lot of time to pull this off, but the window of time for this to happen is looking very fucking narrow right now. Pullbacks happen, the pullbacks begin when the price is very, very high. Check. Absolutely massive check mark right there. We definitely have a very, very big, very, very high price. Pullbacks also happen when there hasn't been a pullback for a while. Check. We've got that as well. They also happen when you're at macro resistance. check. I mean, it's got every single element that we need to see, including if we head on back over to the 4Flies dashboard here, which is super, super useful for this kind of analysis, we can actually see that we've still got ridiculously high fear and greed ratings. We have been stable and consistent in the greedy territory, just floating around greed and very, very close to extreme greed levels. If we look at this on the 3-month chart, we can really start to see when things started to tick up, and we have been in the high 60s, low 70s the entire time. We haven't actually hit extreme greed even once, if I'm not mistaken, yet. However, we have been literally 1 point away from it many times. Right there, 75. That was extreme greed. We were there for one day about 2 weeks ago. But very, very interesting right here that, I mean, we have seen extremely high fear and greed ratings for a very, very long time. We're still seeing Binance retail traders majority long, while Bybit, the guys that make money a lot more than the typical Binance traders, while Bybit traders are still majority short. We don't need to pay attention to this top trader data right now because, like myself, top traders have actually been in their long positions since the beginning of this year. I entered my long position back in like February or March of this year, so of course I'm still long. I just haven't been invalidated yet, and every good trader is going to be in the same position right now. So even though they're still top, they're still majority long, it's a misleading number because they've just been like that since the beginning. So, it's not the same as looking at these kind of metrics where, clearly the shitty traders are, still very bullish and the better traders are a little bit more bearish. And we've got a very, very greedy market right now, ladies and gents. I mean, I don't know what other conclusion to make off this other than, especially on a larger time frame now for more macro price action. I don't care about if Bitcoin manages to get back up to, 44K, even 45K over the next few days. It really doesn't matter. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen, but even if it did, that doesn't matter to this analysis. What is very, very clear from what I'm seeing right now, ladies and gents, is that the way things are going, the way we've actually printed these numbers with the 4Flies dashboard, with the actual price, the fact that we're set up to get this kind of pullback now, I mean, nothing could be more obvious. Nothing could be more obvious to me, as far as I'm concerned, from the analysis I've carried out, than Bitcoin being absolutely primed and ready for a big, big drop. And again, we bring it back to this chart that we were talking about right here. That second drop is going to be where a lot of that capitulation comes back in. And then leading into the halving, this is where we're ready for a really, really big rally. And, by the way, the best part about this, those of you that are attentive, there's only one person that figured this out, by the way. It was Gary right here on Twitter. Shout out to Gary Victory. This guy mentioned that this is the 2015-2016 fractal. And of course, I replied by saying good spot. This chart that I've shown you guys earlier in this YouTube video on my Twitter page is actually a complete rip of what happened back here. It is exactly what happened back here. And in fact, I can do that for you again right now live on video to show you that I'm not just pulling this shit out of my ass. This is exactly what happened in real life in the past. Take a look at this, guys. Let me pull this up for you and show you what this looked like. If we extract the ghost feed tool here and just run this up, to give you guys a very, very clear sense of what we're looking at, I can just go ahead and drag this on over to the present day, and you can see how this is a beautiful, beautiful look at what we might be seeing. Take a look at that. I mean, it's exactly the same chart that I've been showing you throughout this video here on Twitter. It's the same chart, of course, that I showed you guys on 4Flies Gold. I also showed you one more on 4Flies Gold. Come and take a look at this one. I want to show you this one right here. Here's an interesting post, by the way. The reason I'm bawling is because when I say Bitcoin's going to crash, it crashes. That was obviously in response to this Bitcoin video where I first gave you guys the warning of Bitcoin potentially being in a reversal zone, and then the very next thing that happened was this nice big dump. I mean, you guys know how it is. This is how we do it out here. It is quite standard performance. Those of you that have been watching for a while are going to know this. Here's another chart showing you something very similar. Where Bitcoin manages to get that potential further rise up to 50K. It really doesn't matter if we get it or not. But then that subsequent deep drop down. And then the nice big rise as well. So that would be really cool. Here is that 2015, 2016 fractal as well. Just showing you guys how this is exactly what happened before. Granted, in real life, the halving was probably something a little bit more like that. Doesn't really matter, of course. It's just that now we happen to be at that big reversal point, and I mean, this is just what makes sense. It doesn't mean that we have to do it. I mean, it just works out so beautifully. And, I mean, the price targets are, you fucking pulled them out, of the air yourself. I mean, it's fucking anybody's guess. I don't even think it's worth talking about, but, I mean, well over $100,000, super, super doable. The point is that we have clearly got that set up right now. We have clearly got the setup for a pullback. One of the key reasons that I'm so certain about this now is because when I talk about it on YouTube, even though I love you guys, there are a lot of idiots on this channel too. I have no idea how the fuck you guys end up here. I'm actually a little bit insulted that you even watch my shit like at all in the first place. You obviously don't watch for long. You can't pay attention for too long, but that you even watch for a few minutes offends me. It upsets me. You shouldn't be on my space, but they are here and they do talk. And when I put these ideas out, it's very, very clear that they hate the idea of their Bitcoin prices falling again. They hate the idea of the rallies they've seen in the altcoin market that have taken them from minus 80% up to minus 75%, and they're rejoicing in that victory like it's the biggest, most beautiful thing that's ever happened in their life. They are very, very unhappy with me by talking about these kind of ideas. And it's just one of the reasons that I know that I'm probably on the right side of history by, talking about the fact that, these pullbacks are very much due. We can be due for pullbacks and then still not produce them. That is completely normal and completely okay. But again, I think if there was any price point for that to happen, I mean, it would have to be around where we are right now, if not a little bit higher, up toward that 48, 50K zone. Because again, this is where a lot of those reversals did take place back in 2021 and 2022. So, regardless of where we draw this box, I think this is kind of the top end of the rally for Bitcoin just right now. And of course, the beautiful thing is that this only puts us in a situation with much, much nicer opportunities. Another chart that I want to draw your attention to is the S&P 500 chart. This has performed beautifully. I actually had a trade outlined a very long time ago on BingX. You guys know that BingX actually allows you to trade traditional finance markets. That includes the S&P 500, but also individual stocks like Tesla and Apple, which is super cool. Has now risen 2% above those entries. The entry would have been around here, so that is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, that is tradable on BingX without KYC, with over 100K in bonuses. Fucking insane offer. Go take it while you still can. That's probably not going to be running forever. S&P 500 is very, very close to that all-time high. So I'm not saying that it's due for a correction because of that. However, at the same time, it's been a very long, relatively uninterrupted rally for the S&P 500 as well. And if we go ahead and take a look at the dollar, the dollar has been moving down for quite some time and is now, kind of toward the bottom of this support range. So, I mean, it's actually around the middle, but a lot of the support has basically been used up now. If we're going to produce a bounce, it's going to have to be somewhere here, if not slightly lower. So I don't really know how much lower the dollar can drop from here until at least some sort of a, something like this, if not something a lot more. I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me, but that next, bounce, I think is certainly going to be due at some point here, a more macro bounce as well, something that's going to take us a couple of months to, finish dealing with, maybe even just 1 month. That would be enough. I think that we definitely could be due for that with the dollar. So, for me, S&P is starting to look overstretched. Bitcoin is definitely overstretched. I mean, there's no two ways about it. In fact, I'm pretty sure if we just throw the RSI up on this chart, yeah, I mean, we've got a reading of 77, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not sure. Well, let's actually take the data window and we can see that very clearly. Where is that? Right here. Our RSI is sitting at a reading of 70. Yeah, okay, the RSI moving average is 77. Yeah, so the RSI itself is at 70, which is still overbought territory. Not that that matters massively. And of course, on the weekly, the RSI is also at 76. So we've got quite a high RSI on these very long-term time frames for Bitcoin. Very, very clearly overbought at this stage. Again, not that that's a problem. We have to take all of these things with a grain of salt, but it is definitely very useful to tell us just how much buying pressure has been in the market relative to what we've seen in the past, so that we can start to understand, well, how sustainable is this really? Personally, I don't think we're in like mega bull run mode where we can pull something like this off and then just kind of shrug it off for like 2-3 weeks and then we're right back to normal scheduling. I don't really think that's what we're looking at. I think it's actually quite likely that, some deeper pullbacks are going to be required, and I think that if there was any time for that deeper pullback to start happening, right now makes a lot of sense, if not a little bit later on. So very, very deep dive here in the market as usual for you guys today in this video. We have seen some very, very interesting price action developing on Bitcoin, of course, on these shorter term time frames. If we go ahead and start drawing some lines, we can actually see that there's some really, really beautiful, kind of triangular kind of shapes presenting themselves in the market right now. So here's probably that main one. Definitely a very, very clear bull flag, that could definitely end up breaking to the upside. Obviously, this is a bull flag because we've traveled into it, moving upward, and then we started to consolidate. So it's very typical. About 66% of the time, we'd be expecting these to break to the upside. So that's going to be something that I'm keeping an eye on, as well as the other moving parts in this market. I'm going to come back to you guys with more analysis on the rest of this stuff in the very next video. This was a very macro video making a strong case for what could be coming with the halving. I still think that we're actually in a really good position. I think overall I am revising my hypothesis that we're still in a bear market. I mean, sure, we probably still are. We might not be. It really doesn't matter. A lot of people, they get so excited by like defining which kind of market we're in. I just don't care. I just want to make money. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about labeling it correctly or being on the wrong side of, like the words I'm using. As long as I've got another fucking Porsche parked downstairs, I'm happy. That's my measure of success. You can measure it however you like. That's your business. But I want another supercar down there. And as long as I've got that, I'm chilling. I'm in a good spot. So, for me, it doesn't really matter. But, one of the things that I think we definitely could be seeing right now is, just a broader continuation of the same bull run that started in 2020. So that would be pretty cool if we see that. That's a topic for a different video. If you want to see that, then tell me you want to see the extremely long-term bullish trend video. Just tell me a comment that says that in the comment section so I can start to see how many of you guys actually want to see it. And of course, if you guys do want to see that, I can make a video on it for you guys. But of course, with that, ladies and gents, this has been a relatively long video. If you have enjoyed it, do me a favor, smash up those likes, tick the bell, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And I will see you all in the very next video. Take a look at your amazing bonuses available to you all with the links in the description down below. Helps the channel, helps you. And of course, I will see you all in the very next one. All right, guys, take it easy. Cheers.